Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's Joel Beya, and we are back this week with the one, the only, Mr. David Ornstein. How you doing? You okay?
I'm good, thanks, Joel. Yourself?
Listen, I'm doing well. We had a really good chat last week. I really enjoyed the info and the insight. You guys in the comments were brilliant because not only did you like, share, comment, and subscribe with the notifications, you gave us loads of names, loads of examples for the name of this show. And I'm going to quickly go through a few, David. We've got
The
here,
embarrassing bit.
yeah, Ornstein Bomber Special. We had the Roy Kent United show. We had Orny Bomb. We had what else did we have? The exclusive Maestro. We had Orny for 5. We had we had loads. There's some I'm just not going to read out, but it was absolutely amazing. You can still keep the names coming, but myself and David, we sat down and we came up with the name. Do you want to let them know what it is?
Now I'm going to let you do the honours as the presenter. I don't want to steal your thunder.
Oh, mate, this is all about you. We're going to name the show The 5 Insider because we just thought, you know what? David gives us a lot of inside information on 5. And yeah, he's going to be doing it during the course of the season. So The 5 Insider, here we go. Now, to begin The 5 Insider, it looks like Aubameyang to Chelsea is close to happening, but there's an issue on the £30 million that Barcelona want. Is it going to go ahead or not, David?
Well, look, this is a proposed deal that we've read and heard a lot about. So it's definitely there to be done, but it's not done yet. And that's the first thing we need to make clear, because there have been reports coming from Spain and Barcelona in particular that there is an agreement between the clubs, that there is an agreement with the player. And neither of those are the case at the time of recording this. So, of course, personal terms were not expected to be a problem, but that doesn't mean they're done. The fee between the clubs was open for negotiation. It's not done. In terms of the reported €30 million asking price of Barcelona, it doesn't mean that they will end like that. And you know how these things are structured. You might have seen my report, I think it was last Friday, that Chelsea had submitted an offer to Barcelona of £15 million with Marcus Alonso going in the opposite direction. It very quickly became clear that Barcelona firstly would have a problem registering Alonso. They haven't even registered Jules Koundé at the time of recording. And also we were getting the vibe that Barcelona's interest in Alonso had cooled, despite them pursuing him all summer. So then it was quite evident that Barcelona would want to do this as straight cash. So you start talking about, can you do 15 plus add-ons? Well, Barcelona probably wouldn't accept that. They wanted more. They'd want more sort of 20 plus add-ons, 25 plus add-ons. Chelsea would probably want 15, 17, 17.5. And that's where the negotiation has been continuing about the structure of that payment and what it might get to, pounds, euros, all this sort of stuff. And on the side is, of course, the not insignificant matter of finally agreeing those personal terms and, you know, contract length. Is it going to be 3 years? Is it going to be 2 years plus 1? If it's going to be 2 years plus 1, how do you get to the 3 years? Because Aubameyang will want that security that he currently has at Barcelona, where his deal runs until 2025. He's 33 years old. Obviously, it's been a bit of a tricky last year for him. And Chelsea have these things to consider. He has lots to consider as well, because he is happy in Barcelona. Xavi says he's counting on him at Barcelona. But at the same time, in Sunday's match, he was an unused substitute. So this is one that's going to rumble on. Various days, you get various feelings. 1 minute is that it will get done by the end of the window. The next minute is that not guaranteed. So I think it's a bit of a holding pattern. I don't want to make it look like I'm sitting on the fence. I can only tell you that it's not there yet. It's a work in progress. I genuinely think it could still go either way, and that is not a cop-out. I think that's the reality as I understand it.
So if, let's just say it does happen, does that mean that Koundé will finally be registered?
Yeah, you presume that that would provide the finance that Barcelona need to fulfill that rather embarrassing situation of bringing in a big name A star signing, really, Jules Koundé from Sevilla. There were other clubs, including Chelsea, of course, who were heavily linked with him. And they ideally want him to be a starting centre-back for them, whoever that's going to be with. Of course, they brought in other centre-backs in Christensen. They've got centre-backs at the club already. But he's a France international. He's a high-level player. And they've managed to register everybody else that they've signed by pulling those economic levers we've talked about, and raising revenue from the sale of future TV rights, from part of their commercial operation. But the one who hasn't yet is Jules Koundé. And if you think the figure for Aubameyang would be, I don't know, let's just say 20 million euros with some add-ons, or give or take a little bit. I don't know the ins and outs of all the financial mess that's going on at Barcelona, but you would suspect that would give them the finance they need. When you looked at other solutions within the squad, well, Memphis Depay sounds like it's going to be a contract termination. Martin Braithwaite, I don't see a massive market for him. Serginho Dest is another one they want out, and there's not a massive market for him. So Aubameyang would be the revenue generator. Frenkie de Jong would, of course, be the revenue generator. But all indications so far are that he wants to stay at Barcelona, and talk of a move has quietened a little bit for now. So, yeah, right now as we speak, it looks like Aubameyang or bust for Koundé. And there are reports that if Koundé is not registered by the 31st of August, or the end of the transfer window, 1st of September, then there's a clause in his contract saying that he can depart as a free agent. Now, I don't know the exact ins and outs of that, but if it's the case, then Barcelona better get a move on.
Keeping it on the matters of Chelsea, Anthony Gordon, his move to Chelsea, it looks like it might actually happen. But for me, as good of a prospect as he is, I just don't understand how they're willing to spend so much money. It's reported that they'll be spending between 50 to 60 million on him. I mean, even if you check the stats, David, right? Last season, he had 40 appearances, 4 goals, 3 assists. He played 2,676 minutes. And all of a sudden, he's worth 50, 60 million. Can you please explain to me how that's happened and if it will happen as well?
I'm not the stats expert. I tend to say what I see, which is probably to my detriment. I think he's a really good player, and I understand why there's a lot of admiration for him based on the evidence of how he has performed for Everton in a relatively short space of time. And I've got to tell you, as far as I understand it, he's on the recruitment lists in a pretty high place for the wing position at not only Chelsea, but a number of the other top Premier League clubs as well. And
really?
they do know a lot more than me. And
like who?
Well, we've seen Tottenham interested in him already this summer. We have seen Newcastle supposedly making sort of overtures towards him. And without sort of saying for absolute certainty, when you speak to people around the other clubs in the top echelons of the Premier League, they say he is among the names that we're looking at. And that will be with good reason. He clearly is a really good player now, and he has top potential. When you speak to people around Everton, they say, you know, really impressive player, and also as a person and a character as well. Gordon has told Everton and their manager, Frank Lampard, that he wants to leave. He would like to take up the opportunity to join Chelsea, to play Champions League football, test himself at the very highest level, to improve his chances of going to the World Cup and breaking into Gareth Southgate's England squad. And I don't sense that Everton have reacted too emotionally to this. They respect his opinion and his views, but they also know that they've got him under contract for, is it another 3 years on his existing deal? They've also got a new contract on the table for him. They have no doubts about his character and his attitude if he is to stay at the club. And this deal isn't done by any means. This £50 million plus £10 million proposal is something that Everton have been made aware that is coming from Chelsea, but I don't know it is actually being lodged. And then if it hasn't been lodged officially yet, then there's nothing to accept or reject. Everton sold Richarlison already in this transfer window, which means that their financial difficulties have been eased somewhat. And the suggestion from Goodison Park is that financially they don't have to sell him. if they are going to sell him at this late stage in the window, they would need a replacement. When I reported that, a lot of Everton fans were unhappy, saying we've had a window to line up replacements. It's not about lining them up. It's about executing the deal with only a week or so to go in the window and to find a quality player. And this is a player who, within Everton's recent struggles, has been their standout performer. He's a homegrown talent, and clearly he's a player they would like to keep hold of. Also, they want other players in addition to him, not just a replacement. They're looking for a striker too. One of the names towards the top of their recruitment list is Che Adams at Southampton. And so this is a squad that they want to help them retain their Premier League status and have a good season, not to completely break it up. And so it's not only about the money here for Everton, it's about the sporting project. And then over on the Chelsea side, are they going to follow through with an offer of that magnitude? Thomas Tuchel has him as one of his priority targets. There's no doubt about that. He really likes him. But this is a big deal that they'll need to think very carefully about. And they will have other potential candidates as well on their list. So the Anthony Gordon situation is a really delicate one that it's going to be a talking point until that deadline. Frank Lampard spoke after Everton's League Cup game last night and said he's our player and we want it to remain that way. So, yeah, these are crucial moments in the Anthony Gordon situation.
So my last question's on the topic. Is it that Everton want Broja or Gallagher as part of the deal as well? Is that why Everton haven't gone out to somewhat get a replacement? Are they looking to get someone back in for the transfer?
Well, earlier in the window, when Chelsea were among the clubs interested in Richarlison, who ended up going to Tottenham, of course, there were some suggestions around Armando Broja. You would have seen reports at the time. You would have seen that Conor Gallagher has been mentioned in relation to Everton as well. On this particular situation, I've seen the same reports that you're referring to. I personally don't know of other players being involved in this potential deal. I only knew it to be a financial proposal as things stand, and that can change, of course, at any minute. So I'm not disputing those suggestions. Clearly, we talked there about Che Adams. So Armando Broja is in that sort of bracket, a centre forward, and Everton are trying to sign one before the window closes. It potentially makes sense, but it doesn't mean that Chelsea are going to want to part with Broja. It doesn't mean Broja's going to want to go there. We saw that West Ham were pushing hard for him earlier in the window. It didn't happen. They brought in Scamacca. Conor Gallagher, he started for Chelsea at Leeds. So is he going to figure in Thomas Tuchel's first team plans, or is he going to be allowed to go? And if he is allowed to go, it's not only Everton that are interested in him. We've seen reports linking him, I think, off the top of my head, to the likes of Leeds and Crystal Palace and Newcastle and others. And that's a big decision for Chelsea to make. If he is going to go, is it a loan again? Is it permanent? Or do they think he can add to Thomas Tuchel's squad? So moving parts here, Joel, like every day, every minute, every hour, things are changing. Proposals are coming and going. We're hearing so much about it, more than ever before, in the public domain. Good quality journalism, or clubs or representatives or managers putting stuff out. It's been a frenzied window. But if you think it's been busy until now, wait to see what the coming days bring, because that's when things actually need to be done. The posturing has to stop. The actions speak louder than words.
The Manchester United topics. I know they want to hear this from you, David. Harry Maguire and Luke Shaw, they were dropped. And so was Cristiano Ronaldo. Eric Ten Hag has a bit of a job now, because he has to try to keep the captain of Manchester United happy, the GOAT, the legend, who clearly isn't happy. And you've got Luke Shaw, who's on a lot of wages. What's going to happen? How is he going to juggle that? Are they going to feature again in the starting lineup? Is Martinez and Varane the new centre-back partnerships? Can you tell me what's going on over there?
Well, the first thing to say is if Man United are winning matches and performing like they did against Liverpool, then it's a healthy problem for Eric Ten Hag to have. Clearly, he is a man who is prepared to make big and brave and bold decisions, because it's not an easy thing to drop Harry Maguire, the Manchester United captain. Luke Shaw has been a mainstay at left back when his fitness has allowed. And then, of course, Cristiano Ronaldo was their star-studded signing just a year previously. And, you know, there are going to be dilemmas for him. Let's see what happens before the window shuts, first and foremost. Harry Maguire has been linked with a move away. I don't see that materialising. I think he's going to be staying at United and fighting for his place and being part of what might be a bit of rotation, Joel. Just because you've got the armband, it doesn't mean under Erik Ten Hag that you have to start and you're guaranteed that place in the team. And maybe that will bring Harry Maguire back to the level that we'd seen from him in the past and he would expect of himself, maybe even better. But Varane, of course, we know he's a proven top-level player for club and country. He's a world-class performer when he's fit. And so that's the other thing to remember here, that there's going to be injuries and players are going to come into the team and drop out. Lisandro Martinez, when he's fit, of course, he had a brilliant game. There had been questions about him before, especially with his height, so he might not be right for certain opponents. And that means players are going to drop out and come back in. But yeah, it was a massive call on Maguire. And I think it's now down to him to prove to Erik Ten Hag that he deserves a place in that setup. Many people would say this is what Manchester United have needed for a while, a shake-up, a real fight for those spots. And then the more interesting one around the final days of the window is Cristiano Ronaldo, because we know he has wanted to leave. The opportunities don't seem to have been there. We reported in depth on Chelsea and a couple of other teams who might have been potential destinations. That all seems to have faded away to the point where we had this assumption, really, that Cristiano Ronaldo was most likely to stay. But you never know what might happen. Could a proposal come up in these final days that suits him and suits Manchester United, despite their public stance that he's not for sale? You get this feeling that if there is a suitable offer on the table, then it might be taken before that deadline, in the way that there was with Juventus when he came to Manchester United. It was quite a late deal, wasn't it, as well? It's a really tough one to predict. Being dropped to the bench is going to obviously wound Cristiano Ronaldo, but he started the previous game. We don't know what will happen in the next game. But yeah, it's a big moment for Erik Ten Hag. And the fact that Manchester United won, that it seemed to pay off, that he beat a team of Liverpool's calibre with that atmosphere, with that importance on the match after the first couple of games of the season. Monday night under the lights at Old Trafford, with the fans protesting against the Glazer family, and it all went right for United, not just in the result, but in the performance as well, which I was there and I thought was outstanding. The result was something that I slightly expected, given Liverpool had an injury-depleted team. Their midfield of Henderson, Milner and Harvey Elliott was maybe not the level they would normally expect, nor was their bench. And Manchester United had pretty much everyone they wanted available on the night. I saw United win. I'm not going to say I saw that performance coming. It was much higher level than I anticipated. And also, it sets a standard for United now that they need to keep achieving. And so Ten Hag was vindicated in his selection, and it's now on the players to force their way back in, or if they were in the side, to maintain those positions.
Moving on now, I want to focus on the Cody Gakpo deal. Is it going to be happening? Yes or no?
Nah, these binary answers are tough for me because there's always a little bit in between. Of course, he's a target for Erik Ten Hag and Manchester United. That much has become clear. PSV Eindhoven, on the evening we record this, have a massive tie against Rangers to qualify for the Champions League. So that's his focus and PSV's at the moment. So everybody's going to have to wait to see the outcome of that. If they get there, do they want to hold on to him for the campaign? Do they up the asking price? Or is it still a deal that they'd be open to doing? If they don't get there, is it easier to do? Is the price lower? What sort of resistance do they show? Where are Manchester United prioritising in terms of targets? Is it Antony at Ajax? Is it Gakpo at PSV? Is it both of them? It's been pretty clear that they've been pursuing both of them. Whether or not they come out with both of them, I just don't know. Maybe one or the other, I think, is slightly more likely. It depends how far Manchester United's budget will extend. It will depend if Ajax really are holding out for 100 million euros, as has been suggested, for Antony, or whether the realistic figure is a bit lower. That is above his value, pretty much in everyone's opinion. But you're worth as much as someone will pay for you. The prices are going to inflate towards the end of the window, and especially when clubs like Manchester United are really in need of signings. That said, the victory against Liverpool maybe changes that dynamic slightly in terms of their desperation. Maybe they gain a bit of an upper hand in negotiations. Really good performance from Marcus Rashford, from Anthony Martial when he came on, Jadon Sancho with that incredible goal. So let's see on that front. But clearly those are two paths that Manchester United haven't finished on yet. The Frenkie de Jong situation, despite Manchester United never closing the door on this situation, it's one I think that is extremely unlikely to be happening. And I think Manchester United are probably realistic about that now. The most probable scenario seems to be that he'll stay at Barcelona. If he leaves, there's still the Chelsea and Manchester United interest, but currently no movement on that front to my knowledge.
Yeah, to be honest with you, if someone owes me £17 million, I'm not moving until you pay it. Don't know about you, David, but that's how it's going down around here.
We're never going to be owed £17 million. That's the problem.
Speak for yourself, mate. I've got high hopes and belief. Thank you very much, David, for your time. I really appreciate it. And guys, please make sure you keep watching The 5 Insider with David Ornstein, and we will be back next week. Peace.
See you later, guys.
So I was captain under 17s at 16 and stuff. So I was always being pushed. So I felt like whatever kind of challenge I had, I rose to.
And in that setup, everyone's saying, "Oh, Johnny Bostock, John, your name's flying around." Are the other kids, are they looking at you like you're that guy? The kid from Palace, yeah, him.